a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching Paradise on Hulu, Prime Target on Apple TV+, Watson on CBS, and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney+.
So stay tuned to the end to find out what BJ thinks is the most dangerous math formula.
Ooh, we'll only hint at it because we don't want to endanger our listeners. But before that, how about you take us to a place that looks very peaceful?
You're talking about Paradise on Hulu. Special Agent Xavier Collins, played by Sterling K. Brown, is the lead agent protecting President Cal Bradford, played by James Marsden, and he's having a really bad day. They both are. So now, Xavier's on a mission to uncover the truth with some big sci-fi twists.
I want to say from the start, I thought it was really engaging in kind of a creepy way where he's in this planned neighborhood doing his morning run, but we see all these Secret Service people and we don't know what's going on from the start.
Yes, you can tell something is off. Throughout the episode, I would say there weren't a lot of big booms, if you will, save for a couple big reveals. Otherwise, there's just this constant feeling of being unsettled while you watch that I like a lot.
Everything was very tense, but not in an overly dramatic way, just in a these people are keeping secrets kind of way.
And I think it's balanced well with his relationships. He loves his kids. He has a very fun rapport with especially his oldest child. And then he seems to, before things get serious, have some fun back and forth with his coworkers as well.
He does. And we should say he works for the president as his number one guard. And it's interesting how casual some of their banter is, even if that's more from the president.
True. What I thought this show would be is James Marsden and Sterling K. Brown sort of competing for my attention. Who's hotter on screen? Who's going to take me to his eyeballs the longest, you know? Because I did text with both of them, wishing them well for this program. And in this case, I even forgot to be as attracted to both of them as I am because I was so compelled by what was both said and unsaid in their exchanges.
Wow.
Sterling K. Brown said a lot in those silences.
So their acting kind of transcended their physical appeal.
Their beauty, yeah.
Wow. They really hit you everywhere. The heart, the eyes, the mind.
Exactly. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
They covered it all.
Mm-hmm.
I will say they had a very believable friendship of one in a position of power where he can be casual and another trying to be friendly while remaining professional. And I like how that kind of added to the mystery that's uncovered in this episode because we see Xavier already running through his brain like, I am seen as a friend to some people, but I also have a job I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes, and they had a really good use of flashbacks for us to get to know their relationship and how it got to this point. Because the other thing that felt really natural is that strain, because when you have that dynamic with someone for a really long time, obviously we know some big things happen that we can't spoil, but clearly it's not a sustainable friendship dynamic for one person to be the president and one person to be the lead agent.
There is a little bit of a power difference.
As much as Cal Bradford wants to be buddies.
True, which I think would be awkward. But that's another podcast about bosses who want to be your buddies.
The other thing that I thought was cute was whenever something was really bad, they called it a Christian Laettner because Cal Bradford was a huge Kentucky fan.
Wow,
and
deep cut.
And you know, I have a Christian Laettner jersey in my closet.
That's why you and Sterling K. Brown are texting.
Yes, obviously.
Well, will you continue to support Sterling K. Brown and James Marsden on more episodes of Paradise on Hulu?
It's very difficult to have two boyfriends, but somebody's got to do it, and I'll be that person.
Has to do it. Oh.
You know, it is a job. Like you have to clock in, you have to do all these things and manage like all these schedules. And it's tough work, but here I am before you, willing to do so.
It's an honest living.
And it's an honest living. And I do want to watch more episodes. I would say in this first episode, there wasn't as much action as you might want, but they have a really good cliffhanger and there was enough tension, quite a bit of it actually, that I want to know what's going on. I felt very compelled to keep watching. So I would watch again casually.
Nice. I am not dividing my time between two boyfriend famous actors.
Interesting.
We all live different lives, our own paths.
I guess.
But my path does include watching this again seriously. I think they set up a really good mystery. Similar to your view, I wish there was more action, but I see the potential for more action in future episodes. And I like all the relationships that they've established in this episode that I'm sure we'll explore even further in the future.
That's true. They did a great job of getting like all the players on the chessboard.
Speaking of players and chess and figuring things out, how about you tell us what happens in a mathematical show?
You're talking about Prime Target on Apple TV+. A young mathematician named Edward, played by Leo Woodall, is on the verge of a breakthrough when he learns an unseen enemy is trying to destroy his work.
So me too, we're talking about one of your favorite subjects, math. How do you feel about a math mystery thriller?
In my notes, I wrote this show is about math. All we know about our lead is he does math real good. The mystery in this show literally starts with an explosion and ends in a chamber of math. There is math everywhere.
It's mathematical. We have Ed, who is doing graduate studies, and he's really interested in patterns with prime numbers. He's constantly writing down notes. He doesn't trust computers because he thinks his brain can do it faster. And we quickly see that he's not the only one exploring these prime number patterns, and that there are a lot of other people interested in this math that he's uncovering, because he said this is going to be big, like creating the number 0 big.
Yes, Newton, apples, birds, chromosomes, God's cipher. Those are all notes that I have related to math. And like you said, he has a one-night stand, and the one-night stand asks him when he sees paper all over his room, "Don't you use a computer?" And Ed responds, "They're not fast enough," because he is going so hard in the paint on the math that nothing can math as fast as this man can math. He needs to math hard and math quickly. There's also a couple scenes where like a spiral staircase transforms into like a graphic of Fibonacci sequence. And it's just like, okay, math. We get it. It's math. And I think that is my main critique of the show. You can make math fun. And there were like whole television shows like Numbers where people did math procedurals. So we know that it's possible.
Right.
In this case, to me, the show felt a little boring because it really didn't seem to progress past the math. When you read the full premise for the show, and the reason I didn't is because we don't meet her in this first episode, it says that he teams up with a government agent who is tracking him to unravel a conspiracy. I wish we had gotten to see that in this first episode, because that is the only thing that would, I think, make me want to watch more of it.
Interesting. Some of us really appreciated the math. We don't need all of this action, mystery, conspiracy. We like that the math needs to get done, even at the dinner table. Just write on the table. Get the math out. Get it down.
And that must be who that show is 3.1 for. But it is not for me, I don't think, because it just didn't grab me enough. Genuinely, the premise is what is making me curious about more episodes.
You like a little rom into your thriller aspect. We have romance. We have Adam Meller, played by Froffy, who was a one-night stand, who's still someone Ed sees around campus.
I agree. I liked the romance. It led to that scene where he said they're not fast enough about the computers. That made me laugh very hard. I'm also curious about his mentor and his mentor's wife, whom I think he's going to team up with. I feel like that's where they're building it. So there are some mysteries afoot. I love a political thriller. It feels kind of political in that sense because you can tell he's being watched.
Yes.
They give that away pretty hard. I don't think that's a big spoiler.
Tight cast.
And again, in the premise of the show, a government agent is tracking him. And yes, very tight cast. I just wish that they did more than math. And I wish they did more with this lead character. I think we'll see him do more things. But it felt like they wrote him and perhaps directed him to just be so math. Because I think they wanted to hammer home, probably, to us, the viewer, like, this guy cares about uncovering the truth and not about, like, whatever larger thing might be happening. He's in it for the love of the game being math.
He didn't have much of a personality. And they started to hint at it, something about him not really being close to his family. We do see he has some friends, but he's even disconnected from them. So I think they could have done a better job of rounding out his personality to get you more invested in his work.
Yes. Well, are you invested enough to keep watching episodes of Prime Target on Apple TV+?
A little bit. I would watch again casually. This first episode has a cliffhanger that worked well for me. I want to see where the whole cast goes in the future. How do you feel?
That cliffhanger felt to me a little too late. I might watch like one more episode, but I would say if you're looking for a political thriller, I would recommend Paradise before I recommended this one.
Ooh, that's fair.
All right, Beach. Well, why don't you take us from math to medicine?
You're talking about Watson on CBS. 1 year after Sherlock Holmes' death, Dr. John Watson, played by Morris Chestnut, resumes his medical practice by opening the Holmes Clinic in Pittsburgh to treat patients with strange and unidentifiable issues. So, Mitu, what were your first impressions?
Hubba hubba, because we have a show led by Mr. Morris Chestnut.
Okay, what were your second impressions?
It felt a lot like House. I thought they picked a really great first case for the case of the week, where there were such odd twists and turns. Is this your immune system? Is this a disease? Is this an allergen?
Yeah.
Are you dying? Are you not? And the stakes were pretty high. A couple other people were brought into this. And so I thought it was a really great, strong first case. The main thing that felt like it was missing for me was the Sherlock Holmes of it all. He uses some phrases here and there that you remember Watson and Holmes using. He references Scotland Yard and he references Moriarty. But other than that, it didn't quite feel like a Sherlock Holmes show.
It was a strange mashup of Watson from the Holmes universe in this medical procedural where he has this team of very talented doctors, but he's like, okay, you guys need to go find a person. You need to go investigate on the streets, not in the hospital or into a patient.
Yeah.
And we also see that he has a support person in Shinwell Johnson, played by Richie Coster, who seems to be more of the Holmes world of I've got connections and I can get things you need. And I don't really see it all meshing in this pilot.
There is the potential, though. So there are these flashbacks where we see a bit more of the mystery revealed. Obviously, with Shinwell, there's going to be more there. And then we hear from his ex-wife / medical director, Mary, played by Rochelle Aides, that she believes he's a better doctor and he looks into patients better because of this additional experience that he has. So I guess the potential is there. And I guess we did once do a medical procedural with Morris Chestnut, Rosewood, Justice for Rosewood Hive. That show was lovely and canceled way too soon. So maybe it's like they did this once and they're like, you know what? Let's add Holmes this time and maybe the people will keep this one on air. I'm not sure. But I hope that they either fully amp up the Sherlock Holmes thing or they just kind of let it go by the wayside and let this just be a great medical procedural. Because again, the case of the week was fire.
Great case of the week. I do want to talk about his team a little bit more because we see that he's essentially collecting employees that he wants to study and observe.
Yes.
A little weird, especially because they're
Mhm.
aware of that. But also, what did you think of the twins, Stevens and Adam Croft, both played by Peter Mark Kindle?
I wonder why. I thought that they felt like two different characters.
Yes.
I thought that they looked really different. I actually didn't even think they looked like twins, which is funny because it's played by the same actor. But it's funny what like a different haircut and glasses and carrying yourself. It really, I would be able to believe those were two distinct people. I just wonder the why behind it versus just either having twins or feuding siblings in some way, like actually just casting two people.
That was my question. I think they pulled it off well enough, even though there are some awkward scenes with both of them where clearly one
Yeah, they had
half
to
of the
cut it.
frame and the other half is the other. But it does seem like it would have been easier production-wise just to hire twins.
Yeah, it felt like an unnecessary challenge that they gave themselves. Because otherwise, I would say that ragtag crew, like you said, that he seems to be studying as much as they're studying their own patients. It was an interesting group of people assembled with only potential to be more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, very qualified. So will you watch more episodes of Watson on CBS?
Yes, I'm not really a medical procedural person. So if you like medical procedurals, I think you would like this one. And I would recommend you watch it again. Seriously. For me, I'm not a big medical procedural person, but I do love a Holmesian adaptation. And so if it gets more Holmesy, I'm going to give it a few more episodes, then they have me forever. Plus, the Morris Chestnut of it all, like, you have me locked in for at least a few episodes.
Wow, so it's going to be good for this show. They know they have you as a viewer.
What about you?
I think I would watch while folding laundry or while cooking. A little distracted. I think the case of the week will be interesting to see what kind of medical situations they're going to uncover. But similar to you, until they address the homes of it all, I'm not sure how I feel about it long term.
Why don't you take us from the hospital to New York?
You're talking about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney+. This version of Peter Parker, voiced by Hudson Thames, is exploring his origin story and early days when he first took up the Spider-Man persona. And fun fact, this series is set in an alternate timeline from the MCU, and in this version, instead of Peter being mentored by Tony Stark, he's going to be mentored by another iconic Marvel character.
Very iconic.
You're so excited. I can see it. Listeners can't see me too. Is gleaming, smiling ear to ear. So excited.
I do get, even with my limited Marvel knowledge, I get why it's a big deal that he is not being mentored by Tony Stark in this one and is instead being mentored by, I wouldn't even say a good person, a complicated person.
No, I think a straight up villain.
Okay, but the villainy was complicated, I think.
Yeah, he has motivations. This is a complex character.
Yes. Versus just evil for the love of the game, like Ed with math.
Right. Oh, wait. Anyway.
I like in this one that there was a ton of action.
He is swinging, kicking butt, sticking to walls. He's got his gear. And I think it's fun that he feels like a teenager.
Yes. And that we got to know his friends or the people around him as teens. Specifically, I thought the character of Lonnie, voiced by Eugene Bird, was adorable.
Yeah, everyone has to have a crush. And I like that they took a more comic book style. The opening for the show is really cool. And I think it just looks bright. Like sometimes Spider-Man in the movies is a little too gritty, and I want him to be a fun character.
Yes, it did capture the spirit of Spider-Man pretty well, of like this neighborhood kid from Queens who is figuring it out. Though we didn't see much of the figuring out.
No, so I think that's interesting. They've been doing this a lot lately with Spider-Man stories. They cut out the backstory that most of us know.
But I think it's fun to watch. In this one, a very light spoiler is he is bitten, and then in the very next scene, he is sailing through New York, shooting the web, swinging around. So there is not that scene like in so many other Spider-Mans where he first learns to climb a wall or his hand sticks to a bunch of stuff or he's figuring out the webbing or the outfit. Like, we just truly cut to he has figured it out and adjusted somewhat decently to this new norm.
I will say it did shock me, but as I watched, I think it worked well because there's more focus on him as Peter Parker. What's going on at school, friends, crushes, just dealing with everyday life. So the Spider-Man part is second to that, and I'm fine with having less backstory on it.
That's true. It made for a really efficient 30 minutes of storytelling because we have him as Spider-Man. We had a really big first battle scene that got us into him as Spider-Man. We understand some of the stakes, his crushes, his friends at school, and we're introduced to his possible mentor.
Yes. And I will add, I thought it was interesting after that first battle that supernatural power stuff doesn't seem to be as common in this universe.
Yeah.
And I think that helps lower the stakes. So it's more believable that a freshman is our superhero, our go-to superhero.
That's true. He's not up against like Jake Gyllenhaal altering reality. He's like stopping, breaking and entering. People are not allowed to steal from bodegas around him. Like, that's the level of crime he's fighting right now, which is smart. That was really smart storytelling.
Sticking to the neighborhood.
Because he is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
And do you want to see more episodes of him?
Yes, because I love animated shows. So this is a classic Saturday morning cartoons situation. So that's how I would watch it casually on my little Saturday morning cartoon time. If you are not an animated show person, I don't know that this is going to be the one for you because I don't know that it's broad enough. What do you think?
I feel the same way. I'm going to watch again seriously, but I only recommend this for current Spider-Man fans, Marvel fans who want an animated superhero series. And if you are into animated action, then at least give it a try.
All right. Well, what is the most dangerous math formula?
Well, me too. We did solve it, and we did promise each other never to share our discovery.
Whoa, so each other.
We locked away what we found. That math,
a lot of French,
is only in our minds, nowhere else.
Huh.
You're doing
math
great.
Math left me years ago.
I'm glad you did say it was too dangerous.
I really don't recall that. The most recent and constant math and consistent math I've been doing for the last, I don't know how many years, is just calculating tips. 20%.
Not as dangerous as some other maths.
I wouldn't know.
I love that you stick to not knowing.
Huh. Okay. Well, I guess for the what we do know, why don't you tell people where they can find more episodes of the Pilot Podcast?
We do know that you can go to thepilotpodcast.com, and we do know you can follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms.
You can also follow us on social media at thepilotpod, and you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, because every other week we do a show recommended by you, our wonderful listeners, to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.